Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. This time, he's back for good.
Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm John, and this is Matt. And this is actually the first episode of our new podcast/YouTube video called Half-Assed Movie Reviews. And this is going to be a weekly series where we're going to let you actually pick the movies that we review, except for this week. Sometimes. Week we
Sometimes we might want to pick
because
we're just in the mood to watch something and want to talk about it.
Yep, but for the most part, we're going to give you guys 4 options, which you can find on our YouTube page, so search Let's Talk Entertainment and Media. And please subscribe to both if you don't mind. We would really appreciate that.
Can they search half-assed reviews?
That's going to be the title of
the
episode, but everything is going to be under the Let's Talk Entertainment banner.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah, we're broadening our portfolio.
Okay.
Because that's what we're doing. So yeah, this week we picked Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but going forward, we'll give you guys 4 options, and you could pick from those on our YouTube page.
Right, and we previously just did a Terminator 1 review, but we're going to dive much deeper.
Yeah, Matt was very disappointed. We've done that Terminator review twice, and he's like, I feel like we didn't touch on anything. It was just us.
We just kind of stroked it off the entire time, just said how much we loved it, and, I feel like it wasn't a proper review, so we're going to try a bit of a different format here, where we're going to try to give you some facts, we're going to try to recap it to the best of our knowledge, but condense it, because we're not going to sit here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And
not yet.
And then, that's about it.
And we'll talk about its Blu-rays, DVDs.
How we first were introduced, memories of it, and, we're just going to kind of kick back and talk about T2 for the next hour.
Yep, and right off the top, we're going to just talk about what Terminator 2 is. So Terminator 2 is the sequel to the first Terminator that was released in 1984. This came out 4th of July weekend in 1991, directed by James Cameron, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and newcomer as the T-1000, Robert Patrick. And a fellow newcomer in his first movie role ever as John Connor, that would be Edward Furlong. And this movie actually came out 1 week before another movie that actually features James Cameron as a writer, and that is Point Break. Yep, which at the time was directed by Catherine Bigelow, who he was married to.
So he was involved with Point Break?
He was. He's actually, if you ever look, he's a producer on it, and I believe he's a co-writer on it, too.
Wow,
yeah.
That explains a lot, because that's a great movie.
It is, and they came out 1 week apart. James Cameron was married to the writer, the co-writer of the first Terminator, married to Catherine Bigelow, who directed Point Break, and then he married Linda Hamilton after both of that.
Yeah, Jim, he gets around.
Big Jim gets around. But, so yeah, it came out 4th of July weekend. The runtime is 137 minutes for its original theatrical cut.
What about the extended?
But the extended cut adds how much minutes to the scene?
I want to say 16 minutes, right?
I believe, because I did just watch the Skynet edition too.
I have it right here, actually. The 152 minutes.
So from 137, it adds 15 minutes.
15.
So 15 to 16.
We were close.
Yeah, we were.
On your feet, soldier.
Yeah, you gotta have that. That's from Terminator 1. Michael Biehn. And back to do the score again was Brad Fiedel, because we just love that Terminator score.
Okay.
Yep.
And Winston was back to do the effects, right?
The practical effects, but this was the introduction of really CGI. Yeah. Which is very impressive. Still holds up all these years later. 32 years later.
Looks fantastic.
It really does.
It really does hold up. And, is there a James Cameron movie that doesn't hold up as far as CGI goes? Because he's kind of the pioneer, right?
He is, and he's still moving the bar. People are always he's always raising the bar.
South Park reference.
Yep. So, Matt, how did you first come to T2? Because I think we both came to it before the first Terminator.
Yes, I saw Terminator 2 before I saw T1. So my earliest memories of Terminator 2, I lived in an apartment complex with my mother in Holbrook, Long Island, New York. And my mom would work late, and we had a babysitter who was in the complex, I think like the next building over or something like that. They had a son, so it was the kid's grandmother and his mother lived together, and him, and I think his name was Chris, maybe, or I don't remember.
It's not important.
Not important. But they introduced me to Terminator because I would go there after school and he had the tape and we watched Terminator probably 3 times a week. Yep. And you know what it was? Because like, I guess we would get home from school like 3 and then we would go there. His grandma would make us some snacks and stuff and then we would just watch TV or play Nintendo 64. And Terminator 2 and GoldenEye were like the 2 tapes that went in the most that I can remember. And I just remember we watched the beginning way more because, sometimes my mom would pick me up before the movie's over. Or we just watched like the very early scenes where he's riding the dirt bike through the LA River, all that stuff. I was a big fan of that. And then years later when my mother moved to New Jersey and I lived with my father, my uncle would bring me out to Jersey on the weekends or something. I don't remember exactly why they were always going out to Jersey, but I remember my uncle always bringing me out there. And I would ride in the back of his Suburban, which had a TV in it. And he had this little number, Terminator 2, on VHS. So I probably watched this driving in the back of that truck probably 15, 20 times. So I've probably seen T2, no exaggeration, probably 200 times.
Yeah, I can't even put a number on it. But the first time I saw it was, do you remember, if you guys, I don't know if you remember, back in the day, WB used to have Saturday morning movies or Saturday afternoon movies.
Welcome to the Saturday afternoon movie on the WB11, New York's movie station.
And I was just sitting in my room one Saturday afternoon. I don't remember why. It was raining out. We didn't do nothing because my parents were divorced. So I was sitting in my room at my dad's house, and Terminator 2 came on. So it was with commercials. It was all cut up, but
yeah.
I fell in love with that movie, and then I fell in love with Arnold. It was just I was hooked, and I was young. I was probably like 6 or 7.
Yeah, I was probably about the same age when I first saw it too. Maybe a little older.
And then I went back and I told my mom, because I credit my mom with my love for film, because she even said it, like she didn't have me that old, and she said I'm not watching kids movies, so she would watch whatever she wanted, and that's how. So she's like, oh, you like Terminator 2? She's like, well, good news, there's an original. So we went to the library, and then that's how I saw Terminator 1. But as a kid growing up,
always liked T2 more.
Always liked T2 more.
Same.
I probably only watched T1 before the age of like 15, like a few times, maybe once or twice. But T2 before the age of 15. Like Matt said, like probably like 200 times.
Yeah.
I remember a time in my life where I went like 4 or 5 days in a row where every night I watched Terminator 2.
Oh my God, yeah. I can't even imagine how many times I watched it. I remember this Terminator 2, this is what, the Extreme DVD.
Yep, with that steel casing on it.
This has a lot of miles on it.
That's your original one, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I wish I still had mine. I remember I got mine at Blockbuster.
I don't
Blockbuster
remember where
sold DVDs.
I got it. I don't remember where it came from, but I remember I watched the hell out of this.
And yours is in good condition. My case, even though it probably looked like that after a few weeks.
Well, I take care of my things.
Well, that's not how we do things. I'm just saying, like, you're just getting a little bend here, and like I had that bend pretty fast.
Yeah, well, like I said, I take care of my things.
Steelbooks have come.
Where's yours?
It's gone.
How?
I don't know.
How do you lose a DVD?
I don't know. It's been 20-something years since that DVD came out.
Look, mine's still immaculate.
I know. It's impressive. You held on to a lot of things. After high school, some things got lost in the weeds.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so unfortunately. And Matt's also got playing cards out.
Well, okay, so they're not playing cards. They are the Terminator 2 official 12 movie cards and 1 offer card. So I think there's a date on this. 92. So, 91, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say the movie came out now.
The offer expires in 92.
So we can't get it?
No, I think we're a little late on the offer card. And this offer card right here is for collector t-shirts, which I would love to have. And they were only $15. That's really not too bad.
Well, adjusted for inflation, it's $73 probably now.
Yikes. But anyway, so there's a retro game store around the corner from me, and I collect video games. So I've been in there a couple times, and I got friendly with the owner. And over on the counter, like 7-Eleven has, like how they had all the Pokemon cards and stuff, he's got boxes and boxes of all these old, like, retro cards.
Didn't he have Batman cards?
He had the Batman Forever cards. He had the Super Mario cards, like a bunch of other stuff. When I saw T2, I was like, I need a couple packs of these. So I got a couple packs. I opened one. I didn't open the other ones yet, and just looking through them, they're cool. They're just shots of the movie. They tell you a little bit about the scenes and stuff like that. And cool, as a collector, I like to collect stuff. So.
All right.
That's why I have this.
All right, well, do you want to dive into the movie itself a little bit?
Yeah, so we, how does it open?
So the movie opens, I believe, with just the opening credits, if I remember correctly.
Well, no, it'll start with,
Is it a future war?
no, it's like the scenes of the LA...
Of LA traffic and everything? And
yeah, and then...
then... Yeah. The LA traffic.
And then and then I think Linda Hamilton narrates, right?
Is it Linda Hamilton that narrates?
Or am I making that up in my head?
No, because she narrates at the end. So it says, in 2029, Earth is a wasteland dominated by the war between the malevolent artificial intelligence Skynet and the human resistance. Skynet sends the T-1000. So basically the movie starts off with the T-1000. We see him come back. He charges at that guy. You remember the cop?
Yes.
Now, this is actually something that always confused
Don't
me.
we see Arnold come first?
Do we see Arnold? Yeah, we do see Arnold come first.
I got this all messed up in my head now. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the very opening. I can know once we get past like Arnold and Robert Patrick's introductions. Like
Yes.
Robert Patrick comes, he attacks that cop.
The cop, yep.
Which always confused me why he took because he could take the form of anyone. Mm-hmm. So why does he choose Robert Patrick? You would think that the other cop would have been played by Robert Patrick and that he took everything from him. Because he's just driving around in the cop car after
Right,
that.
that's true, but I guess the design, like the T800 model design is modeled after Arnold, so
Yeah.
the T1000s look like Robert Patrick. It's
I
gotta
guess.
have a base look.
I guess it's like stock where it starts with, right?
Right, yeah, so that's why Arnold looks like he does, and that's why he looks the same in T2 from T1.
But Robert Patrick's is liquid metal. He's allowed.
Correct.
He could change his form to anything. Arnold
Right,
can't. He's
but
stuck
he's
as
got-
Arnold.
But a main design,
Yeah.
like the base design, that's like the stock figure.
Okay.
Factory.
That's the factory design. They all start out as Robert Patrick.
Correct.
Before they get some clothes on.
That is the theory and lore behind that.
Okay, and then he gets in the cop car. He immediately looks up John Connor because he is a Terminator. He has one job, Robert Patrick, and that's to kill John Connor. In the first movie, it was to kill Sarah Connor. That's what the T-800 was there to do. But the T-1000 is there to kill John Connor. So he looks it up, and we find out John Connor is 10 years old now, which was a little confusing for me as a kid because the movie came out 7 years.
Quite add up.
So this movie, I guess, takes place in 1995 because 84 for the Terminator. She's pregnant. She probably had John in early 85.
Yeah, that's the only thing that doesn't quite add up with this movie. I guess you kind of I just pretend he's not 10.
Well, I have a hard time believing he's 10 too.
He looks older.
He looks older. So
Yeah.
I've always, and honestly,
But he should be younger?
he should be, if it's 1991, he should be 6 or 7. Like,
Yeah, I
depending.
don't know.
But
I don't know the math.
again, you guys kind of like ignore that part. He's wearing a cool ass Public Enemy shirt, so we can look past all that.
Yeah, and the
Anyway.
camo with the cool hair.
Yeah, he liked his hair. That was early 90s hair. And then we see Arnold come back. He comes through, and he immediately walks into a bar where Bad to the Bone is playing.
Well, no.
Bad to the Bone isn't playing. Bad to the Bone is, but playing on the radio is actually Guitars and Cadillac. I love that song.
Yes.
Okay.
And he comes in, I need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
And they all
and
just
he forgets to say please.
Yep. And that guy gets tossed onto the stove, which I have burned my foot on a stove like that, and it is horrible. So
How is your foot all the way up on the stove?
because my mom kept the snacks above the above the stove when I was a kid, so I climbed up there to get the snacks out. Hadn't known that she had just previously cooked on that stove, so I stepped on it barefoot and then fell on the floor.
Well, you deserve that one.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say you burned it on your George Foreman like Michael Scott.
No, I was standing on a stove, but that guy, he's like bouncing around, so then he goes, "Here, take it," and then
Yep.
can't let you take the man's wheels, son.
Yep. And then he fires one off.
He does.
Arnold goes up, intimidates him, grabs the glasses, and he's on his way. And the gun.
And the
then
gun.
he's on his way.
I just can't imagine that guy wearing those sunglasses, by the way, that Arnold puts on.
You know.
I don't know. It doesn't look like the type.
Maybe.
Pair of aviators that guy would wear, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe.
But again, now he's on his way because his job is to protect John Connor. So now he's going to look for him, and he actually gets to his step-parents' house first, but we don't see that on screen.
Correct.
We only see Robert Patrick come to the house.
During the day, because this was at night.
Yep.
Now it's daytime. A few hours have passed. Arnold is already there looking for him.
And we see Eddie Furlong, I believe, our first time.
With the kid from...
Salute Your Shorts.
Salute Your Shorts, yep.
And, he's jacking up his dirt bike. I guess he's working on it.
Yeah, he was tuning it, that's why he was revving it up to see how she runs. He was tuning the carb, the air-fuel mixture in there, and making sure she runs it all crisp,
His stepdad comes out there, Todd.
Well, it was an emergency.
Come on, get your ass inside. Do what your mother tells you.
Yeah, he had to get his room cleaned.
Yeah.
But
she's not my mother, Todd.
And that guy is, even though he's not really a dick in this movie, I always look at him as a piece of shit because of Candyman.
Was that a Trans Am or a Camaro in the driveway?
I think it was a Trans Am.
Trans Am, yeah.
No, it's a Camaro.
Is it?
It is a Camaro.
Okay.
Yep. It is a Camaro. I like that body style Camaro.
That's a third gen.
Yep.
No, I'm sorry.
Second gen.
A second gen.
Yeah,
yes.
that's a late 70s, early 80s Camaro before the IROC.
Yes.
So, very nice car.
IROC is the third gen. Well, no, they made IROCs that body style, I believe.
Did they? I thought IROCs didn't come around until we got to that third gen Camaro.
The third gen...
Could be wrong on that.
You just associate the IROC with the third gen, but I believe an IROC was in this.
I always wanted an IROC Z. And that thing would be wrapped around a pole within minutes.
They're not that fast.
Yeah, but I'm not a good driver.
It's only got a 302 in it. They really are not fast.
Okay, well, you're underestimating how bad of a driver I am. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah, well. So anyway, they head off to the Galleria.
The Galleria?
Yes.
Robert Patrick's on the hunt.
Well, before they go to the Galleria, they use a little trick that John's mother taught them, and they learned how to steal a credit card and then figure out how to get the PIN and get some easy money out of the ATM.
That seems too easy. I feel like nobody was actually doing that around 1991. Call me crazy, or 95, depending on what you're
Not true at all. That's a real thing.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
That machine seems way too easy to get money out. Even though he does say easy money, it still seems a little...
Well, no, he plugged it into the laptop, and then it gets the PIN number. It somehow gets the PIN number, and then he types it in, and then...
It is cool how it pops up on the screen like that.
$300.
No, he says $300, I believe.
No, bucks.
Is it bucks?
I think it's bucks.
Okay, I know.
Easy money.
Easy money, yeah, I know.
Hop back on the dirt bike, and we are off to the Galleria.
Yep, and Arnold shows up, and Robert Patrick shows up at the exact same time, and we get Arnold walking down that hallway. Well, first, he's looking for him, and we get that guy. The kid from Salute Your Shorts says, "No, haven't seen
This guy? Nah, I don't know.
him." When Robert Patrick shows him a picture and tells
in the arcade.
Yep, tells Eddie Furlong, "Hey, get out of here, because someone's looking for you." And then he runs into Arnold with a box of roses and that sick ass thing, which was clearly a Guns N' Roses reference. He literally has roses pour out, and then he pulls out a gun.
Yeah.
It's clearly a reference to Guns N' Roses, who did the theme song for this movie called You Will Be Mine.
Yes.
Which I love, by the way. I think that was on the Use Your Illusion album.
Oh, you know what? I never made that connection.
Really? I made the connection because of the music video.
I never made that connection, huh?
Yeah.
It makes sense now.
Yeah. Guns N' Roses.
No shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's so obvious because they are roses.
Yeah.
And that's when we first see these guys go toe to toe, and you realize the weight of these guys because they are just knocking through walls and everything.
Through the walls, yep.
And then eventually Arnold takes off after him, but because not Arnold gets knocked down.
Yes.
T-1000 is on his tail.
Yeah, he throws Arnold through the glass. Then he's on the chase.
Old Eddie Furlong, Johnny Connor.
He's running through the back parts of the mall. He finally gets down to the parking garage, and those old reliable two-stroke dirt bikes, they do not start first kick in most cases. So he's kicking the shit out of the thing, and finally it fires up, and he gets out of there. And this has the Fast and Furious transmission installed, because there is way more than the 5 gears that originally came with.
Yes, that was something we noticed. Even young, we always noticed that guy is clicking through gears. Like
Shifting the shit out of it. Yeah.
Yep. T-1000 grabs a big rig, just like paying homage to the original.
He runs fast.
Oh, he runs fast. And that's what you get Robert Patrick for, because he's running, his face is scary.
Yes.
He grabs that truck just like in the original Terminator. I think it's a very similar truck. And he's
This
chasing.
is one of my favorite scenes of the movie. Just
the
because-
LA River scene?
Yeah, I mean, I love dirt bikes, but I just love seeing him jump out of the parking garage over the bushes into the middle of traffic, and just that whole urban LA River thing. I love that.
Yeah,
that whole scene is just so cool.
And then Arnold with the shotgun, which from what I found out, you cannot do that with a shotgun.
No.
That's not real.
No.
I didn't know that.
Well,
You knew that? I only knew that
you
because
got to pump the shit out of it, like all the way up.
But you remember, he's a Terminator, so you can do that no problem.
Yeah, but no, he's not getting a full pump out of it.
Man, that's still so cool seeing him do that, though.
There's not enough weight. Yeah, it's cool as hell, but that probably is near impossible to do.
All right, well,
Unless
Arnold.
the gun is highly modified.
Well, it's definitely modified for this.
Yes.
So that's how they did that. So Arnold, he's on a sick-ass motorcycle.
He's on a Harley.
He's on a Harley. Much better than the motorcycle from the first one, which is like a Honda, I think, or something like that,
Yeah,
right?
not the best.
No, not the best. When I pointed out, I think the shot of him on the motorcycle from T1 is the same shot they used early in T2. I think they put the camera in the exact same place. Could be wrong on that, but I did watch them back to back like you, and the shot looked familiar. Yeah. But anyway, he gets up, he catches up to Eddie Furlong, grabs him, puts him on his motorcycle. The dirt bike goes underneath
Well, this
the
is after we've been in a chase for a while.
Oh, yeah, it's a long chase through the river before he gets him.
A lot of cool action in there. Mm-hmm. Very cool.
A lot, and they again. Did you watch that documentary I told you to watch?
I did.
And they do all this for real.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Which is insane. So actually, you notice Arnold's stunt double on the old Blu-rays and DVD when they eventually the truck hits overpass that it can't go under. Arnold's able to with John Connor. And then,
takes the roof right off the truck.
Mm-hmm. And it blows up and all that. And Arnold, we could see Arnold's stunt double right there. But then they cut away and we find, the T-1000, that's when we see him first, I think, form, he can come back together.
Mm-hmm. Because you think, they made quick work of him, and he just melts out, walks right away, and he is unharmed.
Yep.
So he is a force to be reckoned with, because I think Arnold would have lost all his skin in that. He would have just been a bare-boned endoskeleton at this point already.
Although he can get through fire. We saw that in the first one that he survives.
Right. He can get through the fire, but it would melt all the skin off. He would
he would be an exoskeleton. That's it.
Right.
Yeah. He can't reestablish his skin once it's gone.
Yeah, he wouldn't be able to blend anymore.
Yeah. So this is when finally, time out. Hey, we got to figure out what's going on here. So John Connor asks Arnold, "What's the deal?" And he tells him, I'm here to protect you. And that guy's here.
I figured it out. You're a Terminator, right? And then you're not here to kill me. You're here to protect me. He's like, "Who sent you?" He's like, "You did." So basically, John Connor is the leader of the Resistance, and they captured this T-800 back in the future. They reprogrammed it, sent it back in time to be John Connor's protector in the present day of 92 or wherever this is supposed to take place, to protect him against Robert Patrick's T-1000.
Which is a advanced prototype. So there aren't those actually in rotation. He's an advanced prototype. So they have to get him off the assembly line quick. They think, okay, he can take out John Connor because this is our last ditch effort because the humans are about to win this war.
I don't think there was anything mass produced after the T-800 because,
T3, that's not a T-800, right?
I know it's not a T.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Arnold's not a T-800?
In T3, he's not.
What is he?
He's a T-850.
850.
Which is just like, it would be like the equivalent of like iOS 1.2.
Yeah, he's got a couple upgrades.
Yeah, which they do explain in T3. But we're not here to talk about T3 because T2 is the better movie.
By far.
So, he explains the whole rules to him and what they got to do. And, we can't go back home and tell your step-parents. So he's like, I got to make a phone call.
They'd reacquire him.
Then. Yeah, which makes sense. And, of course, we see that's exactly what he did. The T-1000 went there, found the woman from Aliens, which I never realized until pretty recently that that's the same girl from Aliens.
Titanic.
Yeah, she just must be a James Cameron, stay. And, we see, she's like, she's being way too nice. And then Arnold's smart enough to go, okay, I know, I'll ask about the dog.
What's the dog's name?
Max. Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie?
Yes.
Yeah. So how's Wolfie doing?
And the dog's name is actually Max.
Which I don't think they actually show him killing the dog. Is that a deleted scene?
It might be, because he rips the collar off and he looks at the collar with blood on it and it says Max, and he's like, I've been had.
Yeah, he figures it out too. Because they are, I guess, pretty intelligent, both of them.
Yeah, both Terminators are able to replicate people's voices.
Yep, which is a very useful thing. And then after we find that all out, we see that Arnold and John Connor here have to have a little talk, and that's when they get into a little bit of an argument. We figure out that Arnold has to do everything that John Connor says.
My very own Terminator.
And this is where the movie goes a little bit left to where I think T1 is just better. Right. I think it starts to turn a little bit cheesy. I don't think Edward Furlong is the best actor.
I like him.
I know you like him, but the way he delivers his lines sometimes is a little bit
This is
tough.
like his first movie.
It is his first movie.
Introducing Eddie,
Yeah, they found him in a mall. And actually they had to redub a lot of his lines because his voice changed as the movie was going on, because he does get a little whiny.
You're telling me that this thing can imitate anything it touches?
I'm not going to lie, he does, and there's some rough acting throughout. That's my only thing. So yeah, like this scene, like where he makes him stand on one foot.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's a little bit rough. But they get out of it pretty fast, and these guys come over to help because once he figures it out, and he's holding him there, and he's holding him up, and he's like, let go of me!
Yeah.
And then these two guys, clearly right out of 1991, that fucking mullet on the one guy, my God.
Awesome. Yeah.
What does he say? Fuck you, douchebag, or something?
Or jock douchebag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they go to save him, and then Arnold goes to kill him. He calls him off, and he's like, you can't go around killing people. Why? Because you just can't. Why?
But I am a Terminator.
Yeah. So he starts laying down the rules and saying, you can't go around killing people like that. It ain't like that. And just do what I say. So he starts learning a little bit.
A little bit, and that would take a little bit further, but John Connor wants to go save his mother, Sarah Connor. But unfortunately, she's in an institution. We haven't brought her up yet. She's in an institution now because she tried to destroy Skynet already, but now they don't believe her. No one believes her. No one would believe anybody who ever told you this was real.
Right.
What if people are doing that and they're right?
What do you mean?
Like, what if this was a real scenario? What if Sarah,
Then we'd be in trouble, because Dr. Silverman would put him in the loony bin, and then we would die.
R.I.P. Dr. Silverman. Which, watching
shame.
this movie, I kind of feel a little bad for him because, he's not wrong in, not believing her.
Yeah, he's not. It's very, very hard to believe, but, he's kind of pointed at as somewhat of the villain, I guess.
Yeah, he kind of is. I mean, obviously the guy's working under him there, the guy who licks her face.
Broke my arm. Yeah.
But, so, she's locked up there, and they want to go rescue her, and...
He orders...
He does. And then he, it's about the whole killing thing, so he shoots the guard at the guard booth, and he's like, he'll live.
Yes.
I don't know how he knows for sure. I guess
he shoots him in the leg, right?
Yeah, both knees, I think. He thinks he shoots him twice.
Well, he's got detailed files on the human anatomy, so...
He knows. He knows
where to put the bullets and
based on what I've seen in Reservoir Dogs, if you get shot in certain spots, you can bleed out for days and be fine.
Yes.
And I think these movies are all based on fact.
Mostly.
Right?
Loosely.
Yeah, so they get in there, but of course, guess who's already there?
The T-1000.
Sure is. And we get our first look at a set of twins here, because there's two sets of twins in this movie. The guys who play the security guards. And Linda Hamilton and her sister.
Correct.
So this guy wins a full house. But then someone sneaks up behind him, and because he can form his hands into metal objects...
How about a beer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, then he puts the metal objects through him. And I think this is the first time we can see, the flaws of the Terminator, right? Because aren't his feet, blending in with the black and white floor?
Yes.
So the T-1000 does, I think, and I thought about this...
Some bugs.
Yeah, and I thought about that. He's a prototype. So he isn't perfect. So they haven't gotten all the bugs out. We can't even get modern video games to be perfect when they come out.
Yeah.
A T-1000, I'm sure it's got some flaws. And
liquid metal and
you're playing around with a lot of science there.
A lot of moving parts. So, yes, that was the flaw. You did see that. And then, so now he's impersonating the security guard. So he goes and knocks on the glass with just a blank look on his face because there's no emotion.
No, he can't ever put the emotion on.
There's no emotion ever with the T-1000. However, when he does later in the movie, when he impersonates Sarah Connor, there is more emotion on the face.
He does. I think that's a last-ditch effort for him because he's pretty confident until the very end when they're in the...
Right, in the steel mill.
Yes.
So now we are the security guard, right?
And yeah, Arnold gets there with...
And now they're escaping. They're breaking out Sarah. They're escaping, and now the alarm's going off.
Yeah, they're all after them.
Yep.
And she doesn't know that the T-800
T-800, yes.
is there with
Oh, because Sarah's making her own escape.
Yeah,
So
it all just lined up
there's
perfect.
3 plays in action right now. Yeah.
So
Right.
she runs right into freaking Arnold, and I love that scene, by the way.
Yeah.
When he turns that corner with the gun and the score kicks in.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Brad Fiddel's score, amazing. And he said that he was inspired by like heavy machinery sounds, and it's very noticeable in T2 more than T1.
Yeah.
Because T1's very much on the synthesizer, but I can't pick a favorite score between these two.
It's tough. It is tough. Very, 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 very tough, actually.
I listened to them both this week. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe T2 is just a little more memorable.
It is memorable. Listening to it, you could play the whole movie in your head.
Oh, yeah.
It's perfect. So, yeah. So, he's got to convince her. She runs back, but the T-1000's coming through, too. And all between this, Dr. Silberman sees this all happening, and this is where he gets his comeuppance. When he sees the T-1000 form through that steel.
Walk through the steel door, and he's like, oh, shit, she wasn't lying.
Yeah, he drops, like, the pen out of his mouth. He can't believe it. And, they're firing guns at each other, too, and not taking any damage at all.
Yep.
And they get in the elevator. Boom! All of a sudden, the T-1000 jumps on the top of the elevator. He's trying to stab through, gets Sarah, gets her a little bit.
Yep, they get in the cop car for a clean getaway.
And that T-1000 is after them. Mm-hmm. And, then Sarah tells John, you can't come after me. You're more important than me.
Yes.
And then he starts to tear up like any kid would when their mom, he tried to do a good thing for his mom. This scene actually made me sad when I was a kid. I felt bad for him because he was trying to do something nice.
Right,
Because
yes.
he loves his mother.
Right.
He's a 10-year-old kid. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
He's still trying to understand it. And Arnold asks him why he cries.
Yeah, what's wrong with your eyes?
Yeah.
Something I cannot do.
Yeah. So that's actually because they take off and they go and drop off. They switch out the cars and they go to that shop. And this is where we see one of those deleted scenes we were talking about.
Yes.
Where Arnold, the T-800 has a learning mode pretty much. Mm-hmm. But they have to flip a switch that's in his skull.
On the CPU.
Yep. Now, they just say it in the theatrical version that they do this, but in the actual extended version, which me and Matt consider to be the definitive version, which most people don't agree with us, I found out. So,
Really?
Yeah. But I think it's because of that Extreme DVD. We've seen it so many times.
Yeah, it's just hard to not have those scenes.
Yeah. So they flip the switch in his skull, and he stands guard that whole night.
Do you see the entire, in the theatrical, do you see them open them up and...
No, that's all
that?
cut.
So that's all cut.
That's all cut. It's just that...
I like that. You see the hatch open up, they go in there with the pliers, they pull the thing out, then Arnold just goes...
quiet for a minute, and that's
Yeah.
actually we get a tense scene where she thinks about killing him, and that John Connor has to stop him.
Don't kill him.
Yeah,
It, John, it. Okay, we need it.
yeah, and that just shows the trust, and that's what John Connor, and this is what she starts to realize is that he can work with both sides. He can work with the machines.
If I'm supposed to be some great military leader, how anybody's supposed to trust me if my own mother doesn't?
Which, that line, he did a pretty good job acting there. I'll give him that. He did that pretty good. Now, when he's sitting there with the Terminator the next day and he's trying to make him smile and everything like that,
Yeah.
those lines could be a little cheesy, even
Hasta
though...
la vista, baby.
Yeah, which... Anyone remember from 1991? Were people saying "Hasta la vista, baby" before this movie?
I only know it from the movie.
From the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
But he made it seem like that was something that people were doing.
Maybe.
Because
We didn't live in California.
We didn't live in California. You were very young, and I wasn't even born yet.
Right, yes. So I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember either. But yeah, he's trying to teach him and tells him he's got to work on that smile, which is weird because Arnold's got a beautiful smile.
Yeah, but not in the movie.
Not in this movie. T-800, bad at emotion. But he's learning, and that's the point.
So now they are cruising in the station wagon through the desert.
Through the desert to Mexico, right?
Yeah, to Enrique's.
Yes, who Sarah, from what I was able to gather, was an ex-boyfriend of hers. And this reminded me a lot of my mother, because my mother had a lot of ex-boyfriends too. Because she was divorced. I remember she was dating the garbage man for a while. So she dated, instead of like my mom dating a garbage man, she was dating a guy who knew how to handle weapons. And this guy's got an arsenal of weapons.
Gun runner, yeah.
Yeah. Was that what he is? He's pretty much a gun runner?
Yeah, you know,
But she taught...
they live in a school bus, and they got the stripped-down helicopter on the property, and...
But he was teaching her all the how to use weapons, and then they were passing that on to John, so he knows how to use weapons too.
Well, I'm sure a gun runner is probably familiar with his product.
And I think we get a Commando reference, or what movie? Oh no, we get a Predator reference here when he grabs that big gun, the mauling gun, which he eventually uses. But
the minigun.
The minigun, yes, which he uses eventually in this movie as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought that was
totally you.
What? Oh yeah, I know. Which is that's totally a Predator reference, right? I'm not mistaken in that.
He didn't use that in Predator.
No, but somebody used...
Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah, but it's still a Predator reference, right?
I don't really think so.
No? Okay, I always associate it with a Predator. That's the first time I ever saw a minigun.
Just a Terminator having a big-ass fucking gun.
No, I've only seen a minigun in Predator, T2, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And that's it.
Okay.
I don't know how frequent those are. Do they still use them in the Army? I feel like they're very impractical.
They're generally mounted.
Yeah, they're impractical, I feel like.
Well, yeah, they're generally just mounted on the helicopter or a vehicle. Or
Unless you're really strong like a Terminator.
Correct.
Or Jesse the Body Ventura.
Right.
Or me.
Wrong.
Okay. Anyway, so now she finds out she wants detailed files on the guy who made Skynet because she can't take this anymore. She does not want this war to happen. She thought she beat it once. And she finds out from the Terminator that the lead guy who did this is Mr. Miles Dyson.
Miles Bennett Dyson.
Yep. Who was supposed to take his kids to Wet and Wild one day.
Miles, it's Sunday. You promised to take the kids to Raging Waters today.
Raging Waters.
Raging Waters. Wet and Wild is the real place, I believe. But anyway, that scene was also cut, so we never got to see him actually deal with his family or anything like that.
Right, yes.
So he
is a workaholic.
Yes, and we saw very early in this movie that he has the arm and the chip from the first Terminator, and that's basically what helps fuel his desire for work.
All his work was based on it.
Yep, everything. Every single thing. So, he's home one day, and Sarah Connor comes in there shooting him with an awesome gun.
Well, she leaves them.
Yeah, she ditches
leaves
them.
John and the T-800.
Oh, we get that classic line that, oh my God, this is a bad Eddie Furlong line.
What? When they're under the car?
When they're running to the car, because when they realize where she went, when him and Arnold realize...
She's going to blow him away!
Yeah, that fucking line.
Yeah.
And they catch up to her. Actually, I feel like they caught up to her pretty fast, because
before all this, they had a pretty good dad moment under the truck when they're changing out the starter.
Crying sometimes. She denies it totally, of course, like she got something stuck in her eye.
Yeah, we do need that emotional moment between them. That's where Arnold, he's kind of like a therapist to him. He lets him talk, Eddie, a little bit, explain his feelings on the whole thing, because, like he said, I didn't believe her. He believed everything until everyone told him, hey, don't you know, your mom's crazy.
In an insane world, it's the sanest choice.
Yep.
And we cannot forget, fate is what you make, or there is no fate.
Yep.
Right? What did she carve? There is no fate, or... Fate is what you make it.
Fate is what you make, and that she left it there, which is what Michael Biehn told her.
I think there is no fate is what she carves.
There is no fate, because Michael Biehn said it's only fate but what we make. But originally John Connor says this. So actually it's a full circle, because John Connor told Michael Biehn, who's his father.
Yeah, so we go full circle.
Yep.
So now she is on her way to Miles Dyson to blow him away. So she starts.
And she tries.
She starts shooting up the house, and she gets in there, and she finally just breaks down and cannot do it when it comes down to it.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! It's all your fault!
Then.
Well, that's the difference. But that's to show us the difference between humanity and a machine. A machine could just do it, because it has no emotion. But she has emotion. She sees his kids, and
then T-800 and Eddie are right behind her. They get there right as she's having her breakdown. And you know what bothers me about this scene?
What?
Where's the daughter?
I thought the same thing. Where did the daughter go?
Who knows?
Yeah, no. They just have the son there.
Just the son. The daughter just slept through the whole thing, I guess.
Guess didn't hear a bullet hit the window, but the son was really emotional. And, they go off to the bedroom. He's like, hey, why don't you show me some of your toys? Actually, this is really badass. I love this. When he cuts his arm off.
To show him what it is.
Because the arm is... He's like, oh, I know that arm because I've been doing all my work. And that's what scares him.
Yes.
And that's when they tell him everything. He's like, oh, shit.
I think I'm going to be sick.
Yeah. And they got to head off to Skynet. Cyberdyne Systems.
Go to Cyberdyne to destroy all his research, all the work, everything, hard drives, everything. His life's work down the drain. just because of what this new friend has told them.
Yep.
So can you imagine that?
I know. And somebody oh my God, I'd be scared. I don't know. I couldn't imagine what he was feeling. Oh, how would you believe
Gibbons,
that? Yeah.
when he leaves the post.
Gibbons, come on, man. You can't leave the desk like that.
Oh, I know, the security.
Can't leave the post, man.
Perfect casting. And actually, when the SWAT team does get there, one of the SWAT officers is Hank from Breaking Bad.
It is, right?
Yeah, and you can hear the voice because I think he shoots him.
Yeah, he's got the gas mask on.
Yeah, but if you hear, you can hear the voice, and that guy's pretty young there.
So they rigged the place up. They're burning all the files, and they're destroying everything, and then the SWAT finally comes because the silent alarm has been tripped. Mm-hmm. And now it is game time. So Arnold's
this is the best
on a no-kill
directive.
No-kill directive, and he's just going around taking out all these cops without killing any of them. So he's just kind of knocking them out or incapacitating them, and then also, which we learned from that documentary, one of the biggest police shootouts ever in a movie. They have like this entire
film history at the time. Like again, we said like they did all this stuff practically, which blew my mind.
That's an awesome fucking scene.
I don't know how they did that.
Cops out there, he's just taking them all out with the minigun, and then he scans, and there's no casualties, and no threats detected. Awesome, very cool.
And then the T-1000 grabs that helicopter, and then
he rides the bike into the building.
Oh my! Up at the stairs.
Up the stairs
with fire. There's fire on the ground.
Yeah,
like
he blows through the window. Jumps onto the helicopter, and then he's on the helicopter.
And what does he say? Just like how the T-800 said to the truck driver.
Get out.
Get out.
Well, he says that twice in the movie. He says it to the truck driver in the beginning, too.
Yep.
Yeah,
get out.
Yeah, that was really cool. That's one of the best scenes in the movie. And then the SWAT team is gassing them down in the lobby. Arnold walks through, grabs the SWAT van, blows through it, does a big donut or 180 turn in the lobby. They all jump in, and they are on the road again.
Yep, but they left behind Miles Dyson, who has been shot numerous times and is going to die. And when he does die, his hand will eventually drop this detonator. Mm-hmm. So he's got his last breaths, and he does a good job with selling this. Because,
yeah. And he just drops it.
And then blows it to pieces, and they're on their way. And we think they don't realize that the T-1000 is still alive and on their tail.
Yeah, well, he's in the helicopter.
Yeah.
A SWAT van.
And they flew this helicopter under the
bridges.
Oh, my God.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very expensive movie to make.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another thing. The budget on this is way higher than the first Terminator.
You know what else I learned? Once they get... So now we're in chase. The helicopter is chasing the SWAT van, and they are... just trying to get away. They don't really have a heading, and they end up in a steel mill. I think, they roll the van. He gets in that truck with the shed on it, and then Robert Patrick is...
Well, he gets in another car.
He gets in that liquid nitrogen tanker.
Yes, and this is the first time we think he's going to die. I thought he was dead here the first time.
Right. Yeah, so they get to a steel mill. That's where the road ended for some reason.
Yeah, I never got that.
Nitrogen truck overturns, and as Robert Patrick rolls out of the thing, he just gets covered in liquid nitrogen, which freezes him.
Yeah.
And it looks like
he's
that might be the end of it.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, like he looks fucked up. He just starts to disintegrate, but the heat from that steel mill allows the liquid metal to heat back up, and he can come back together.
And you know what they said about the steel mill in that documentary?
That's a real steel mill that they were using?
Well, no. It was a closed steel mill, which they brought back to life for the movie. And it was also about 42 degrees, and it was really tough for the actors to work up a sweat.
Which I find fascinating because of the heat in there, I would think.
Well,
but
that's probably not real fucking...
sparks and stuff
magma.
like that.
Well,
I know it's not real magma, but...
Sparks are 100% real. That's easy to make.
Yeah, but like, wouldn't the heat off of that at least warm it up a little?
A spark? No.
I don't.
I'll go get my angle grinder right now, and I'll shoot sparks right at you. You won't even feel it.
No, it's not giving off like enough... I don't know.
No.
I just always thought it would be hot in there. But yeah, that's fascinating that, 42, it was hard for them to work up a sweat. Yeah, that's fascinating. But we also see that the T-1000 from all this...
I didn't even know it gets that cold in California. That's crazy.
Well, at night. I mean, like...
42 degrees? That's pretty cold.
I've lived in Vegas, and like Vegas, like it's like 80s in the day, and it'll be like 40s at night. Yeah, when the sun goes, the sun does a lot of the heating.
But here on Long Island, it'll be 80 during the day and like 75 at night.
That's true, yeah.
I don't understand that. I guess the humidity, I don't know.
We're not meteorologists. Even though the T-1000 comes back to life, he's messed up from here.
Yes.
He's not the same T-1000.
Yeah, that took the toll on him. That really damaged his circuits.
Yep, but the T-800 is just as messed up here. So
T-800 is in rough shape as well.
So they come together, they have a fight, and we think, the T-800's done for.
This is the final showdown, really.
Yeah, this is.
Robert Patrick really throws him a beating, and looks like he is gone. You know, we see lights out, and then it's really just an injured Sarah Connor and a helpless John Connor.
Yep, and she's got that shotgun, and you know what? He comes close. He gets close, but
yeah, she gets pretty close. One more bullet, and she would have had it. And then he does that, that finger wave.
Yeah, which I love. But
but is this before we we tricked them?
No, we tricked him right. She tricked him right before this. This was another thing with the twins.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And then you can see that his feet are forming the metal grates that he's walking on.
Yeah, because he's all messed up here. And this is again where they use the twins of Linda Hamilton and whatever her sister's name is, which is fascinating because nowadays they would just do CGI, but this is early CGI, and really when you only see it is when the T-1000 is getting shot and you see the holes in him.
Right.
But little does the T-1000 though, Arnold did live, and he got himself a grenade launcher.
Well.
Right?
He went into backup power mode or something like that. It shows up on the screen.
Convenient.
And then, yes, he finds a grenade launcher, plugs one right in the belly, and that is the end of the T-1000 as he falls into the liquid magma.
And this scene was kind of scary.
The hot burning steel, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, well, it's hot metal. Eventually it will cool and become metal. That's how you make swords and other metal objects.
Or all metal objects, yep.
But we get to see all the different forms that the T-1000 has taken. I guess it's just cycling through his memory as he's dying. Like we see we see John Connor's stepmom and all that. He's got the blade still. He's all fucked up, and eventually he disintegrates.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they all think it's over. They won, and I guess he figured, John Connor, that they were all going to ride off into the sunset and be a family, and
happily ever after.
T-800 was going to be his dad.
There's one more chip.
We can't let that technology be out in the world. We can't, because look what happened.
Yep.
And unfortunately, he can't self-terminate, which I find strange also. So Sarah Connor has to lower him into the lava, or hot steel. And, John's upset, and he tells him, I now know why you cry, but it's something I could never do.
I know now why you cry. But it's something I can never do.
So that's the end of the T-800. And then the movie, how does it fully end? We just get some Linda Hamilton doing some voiceover about how they beat Judgment Day. It was supposed to happen in 1997. But as we know, there's a few sequels to this movie, so this was
supposed to be the end.
This was supposed to be the end.
And then we get that really cool outro when they're
the shooting at the road, which I love.
And Linda Hamilton's talking, and she outroed the first one too, right?
Yeah. Well, pretty much. She went to the gas station. She was doing the recordings.
Because these stories are really just about Sarah Connor.
She's the star, and that's why people really love Terminator: Dark Fate. Because T3 was, they don't. They say that we didn't stop Judgment Day, we just delayed it. And they explain it and everything like that, and that leads into Terminator Salvation, and then reboot with Genesis, and then Dark Fate is a direct sequel.
3 goes into Genesis, Salvation?
Salvation, yeah. If you remember, I actually really like the ending of 3.
So it's 1, 2, 3 Salvation?
Yeah.
That's one timeline?
And then they reboot for Genesis.
Okay.
Which is a whole nother timeline. And then they ignore Genesis for Dark Fate and drop everything for after T2. And if you don't know what happens in Dark Fate, I'm going to do a little spoiler here because I want to talk about this because it's my biggest flaw with Dark Fate. They undo what Terminator 2 does. It pretty much just shits on the entire story of Terminator 2 because in the beginning of Dark Fate, they kill off John Connor.
No, and they explain that.
They do explain it.
There was multiple T-800s dispersed.
I understand.
Or multiple Terminators. What's that word?
Sent through.
Yeah. So I was looking for a more elegant word, but I can't remember what it was.
You're not an elegant man.
Okay. So they were all sent, and the T-1000 failed, but an old T-800 did succeed.
Yeah, and then he becomes a...
But maybe we'll get to that in a later episode.
Yep, we'll talk about the carpet salesman or curtain salesman. Curtains.
And if you hear that sound, that's John. He hasn't realized that his chair squeaks, but he's going to continue to move. So audio listeners, we apologize.
I am sorry. The chairs were not supposed to squeak, but unfortunately they did. So,
Amazon.
Yeah. So anyway, that is the recap of the film, and this movie turned out to be a huge success, obviously, and just a massive movie.
Look at all the physical media we have. We have the VHS, we have the HD DVD or the Extreme DVD, we have the original Blu-ray release, then we have the Skynet edition Blu-ray release,
which I think is the definitive edition.
I agree. Then we have the Terminator 2 4K, the original one, which was not received too well, and then they decided, hey, you know what, you guys hated that, let's just put it in a cooler box, and me and John bought that anyway.
Yeah, that steelbook is really nice, though. It's one of the nicest steelbooks. It really is.
Yes,
Studio Canal, Lionsgate, they did just a phenomenal job. And I think Studio Canal did this VHS, right?
Studio Canal handled every Terminator 2 release.
Really?
Yeah.
Fascinating. And James Cameron this is what scares me about Terminator coming to 4K and all of James Cameron's movies. He put his stamp of approval on that 4K. Now, given James Cameron puts a stamp of approval on every Terminator
So
release.
I do want to mention the 4K. It's not that it looks bad, it just doesn't look right.
It's because they wiped it clean.
It's very, very clean. It's like...
And then it makes the skin looks waxy and not
real.
real.
A little bit, but it's like... It's not unwatchable.
It's not unwatchable. I wouldn't say it's a heinous crime, but the problem is like we just ran through, Terminator 2 is one of our favorite films ever. Terminator is our favorite, but Terminator 2 is still in my top 10 all time. I don't know about you.
Yes.
So Terminator 2 is still very high up on our list, and it just deserves to have like Halloween's another one of Matt's favorite movies, and it has a definitive edition that looks gorgeous. True Romance is one of my favorite movies. That has a definitive gorgeous edition. Terminator 2 deserves that.
I agree.
That's the thing. Yeah, I should be able to walk to my shelf and go, this is the Terminator 2 I'm watching. I still have to go back to my Skynet edition Blu-ray to watch it, which is in my Terminator pack of movies, the first 4 movies. It's just, I feel like that's unfortunate. I feel like it deserves more for the film like this that people love. Terminator 2 is probably one of the most popular movies ever.
I agree.
I don't think it's a flawless film. I think Edward Furlong isn't that great. I think this turns into a little bit more of a summer blockbuster, whereas the first one is much more of a sci-fi horror film. This is a action blockbuster with a sci-fi twist to it.
Yep.
I feel like that takes a little bit away from it, but again, still a great movie. Some of the best action sequences you'll ever see on film.
Oh yeah, and that story is just fantastic. It just continues what we had in part 1, and I eat that up. I love the sci-fi stuff like this.
Me too. I love time travel. When you put time travel elements into a movie, I'm usually on board, even if it's a bad movie.
And even in like those urban environments and stuff like that, I'm a big fan of that.
They use different environments in this movie compared to in the first one. The first one, LA seems a lot dirtier. It's a lot cleaner.
Well, it's older, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how old New York looks too, though.
Yeah, that's true. I guess old LA has that same kind of dirty, gritty feel. But just the way they shot this movie, it's got a blue tint to it. Which they actually would use again in True Lies when it comes to James Cameron movies.
Okay.
But T1 has that, it's just so dark. I love that. T2, it's got, there's a lot of day scenes. Even when they're in the mental institution, obviously when they get Sarah at night, it's a little bit darker, but there's some day scenes.
Right.
So I don't know. I just felt it's a brighter movie. It does feel like a 4th of July weekend movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a summer movie for sure.
Yeah, definitely, whereas the first one wasn't. So you have anything else, any closing thoughts on Terminator 2?
I think we really touched everything. I absolutely love this movie. I could watch it again and again and again, and I'm going to watch this another 100 times in my lifetime. And I just really hope we get a proper 4K one day. I hope we get a proper 4K of the original. I want the entire series on 4K. I want them all on 4K.
They can leave Genesis.
I'll take Genesis on 4K. It's not the best. It's not my favorite. It's probably the worst in the entire series. However, it's still the Terminator.
That's true. You're right.
We love the Terminator here.
Yep. Yes, we do. That's our favorite. Well, the two movies are probably some of the best movies ever. So as a franchise as a whole, overall, I still say it's good because I think Dark Fate's pretty good. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed our first edition of half-assed movie reviews. I don't think we half-assed it though. And like we said,
we skipped,
little things, but I think we did a good job.
We cut the movie in half.
Yeah, I think we did. We really poked around where we had to. And we are, like we said, if you're listening to this only on audio, subscribe to our YouTube page, Let's Talk Entertainment and Media. We put out other reviews during the week besides just these podcasts. We actually put out some 4K Blu-ray reviews, which we really enjoyed doing.
And some games, and some tech stuff along the way.
And some new movie reviews when we're feeling up to it, when we can get out to the theater, because we are technically not certified movie critics, so we don't get invited to screenings or anything like that, but we head out to the movies every now and again to go see some flicks, and we review them here on the channel, so make sure you subscribe, and then you can pick which movie we are going to be doing next week. We haven't decided yet, but keep an eye on the YouTube page. We'll put out 4 options, and you can pick. And while you guys are doing that, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and then tell all your friends.